How does United Nations law address humanitarian interventions? Breaking news in international relations. The question on many minds today is, how does United Nations law address humanitarian interventions? With ongoing conflicts around the world, understanding this topic is more important than ever. Many people are searching for clarity on how international law governs these critical situations. United Nations law primarily guides the use of force and humanitarian interventions through the United Nations Charter. This charter lays down the legal framework for international peace and security. According to Article 51 of the Charter, the use of force is lawful only in self-defense against an armed attack or when authorized by the United Nations Security Council. This means that humanitarian interventions carried out without Security Council approval generally lack a lawful basis under international law. The Charter clearly prohibits the use of armed force as a means of coercion or disguised aggression. It emphasizes the importance of respecting state sovereignty and non-intervention. Therefore, any humanitarian interventions must navigate this legal framework carefully to avoid violating the prohibition on the use of force. International humanitarian law, which includes the Geneva Conventions and the laws of armed conflict, complements the Charter. These laws set rules for protecting civilians during armed conflicts, they requiring parties to distinguish between combatants and civilians and to avoid attacks on civilian objects, even during military operations. Any humanitarian intervention must comply with these principles to minimize harm to civilians and uphold human rights. The United Nations also supports accountability mechanisms for violations of international law during conflicts. This includes international criminal tribunals and the International Criminal Court, which can prosecute individuals responsible for war crimes and crimes against humanity. This legal accountability is part of a broader effort to ensure that humanitarian interventions and armed actions respect international norms. In summary, United Nations law addresses humanitarian interventions by restricting the use of force to self-defense or Security Council authorization. It also requires adherence to international humanitarian law principles for civilian protection and promotes accountability for violations. This framework aims to balance the need for humanitarian action with respect for state sovereignty and international peace.